Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. We have my boy, Strength EZA Majin Vegeta, fully level 10 linked. He is indeed rainbowed, and of course we are taking him on the 200% lead of the Dokkan Fest Majin Vegeta. Actually goes on both the Gifted Warriors and Vegeta's Family and Gifted Warriors and Majin Buu Saga, so he can be run on both, which is quite nice. This is the team we're running. We've got that Vegeta Family support. We're going to get all the links off with the Tech Majin Vegeta, especially once he's transformed, and then even these two in terms of Go Tanks and this Vegeta in there to get the Supreme Power link off. But before we do get into it, if you could drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, that'd be very much appreciated. Without further ado, let's see what my boy can do. Okay, so we got the boy in rotation. This is probably the typical lineup you're going to be having. To be fair, it's pretty much the same as having these two on rotation with each other. Like, that is the best linking partner you're going to get. And funny enough, they actually share kind of similar problems. You know, this guy, you want to be getting 6 orbs, same as this guy once he's transformed. You want to be getting this guy 6 orbs so he gets his damage reduction, or if you have chunks in the team, full damage reduction. And then you want him to be getting 6 orbs after he transforms so you can get the guard. And then this guy, you want to be getting as many orbs as possible, even though, to be fair, he is an orb changer. Of course, he changes HL key spheres to strength key spheres. He wants as many orbs as possible to just purely build up his numbers. So of course, all he's getting at the start of turn is literally just purely attack and defense plus 20% per key sphere obtained, nothing else. And then not to mention as well, he does get the additional attack and defense plus 5% per key sphere obtained when there's a Goku category enemy, which of course is what we're facing right now. So, you know, give or take a few numbers, it's only 5% per key sphere obtained, but of course, when you are facing a Goku's family enemy like this, of course, that can really help, especially if you can get a number of orbs. So, turn 1, I mean, I say turn 1. Before supering, before picking up a single orb, it's not looking very impressive. Like, it's just not. You know, 144k attack stat and only 56k defense. I mean, that's not surprising because, again, considering he has nothing at the start of turn, purely, you know, all of his passive or all of his numbers revolve around him getting orbs. So obviously that's self-explanatory. We are missing Over in a Flash, which at level 10 for the majority is a key link. So we are missing Key plus 3 and attack plus 7%, and we're also missing Shatting the Limit, which is Key plus 2 and attack and defense plus 5%. So we're not actually missing a whole bunch from this turn. We can only get him 3 key spheres, which means facing the Goku, being a Goku's family category enemy, from those 3 key spheres, we pretty much got 75% attack and defense. So, I mean, the attack stat is looking pretty good. Other than that, the defense, yeah, it's not looking great for him right now. But he does greatly raise attack and defense on Super by 50%. 2.4 mil attack stat. Of course, that is against a Goku's family enemy. So, I mean, without the extra 5% per keys for obtained, so without the extra, what, 15% in total, you're probably still looking at around about 2 mil. You know, you're probably still looking at over 2 mil, but, you know, as I said, on that turn, you're not really going to see anything special from him, considering, you know, we only managed to get 3 key spheres. And that's another thing that kind of hurts. I mean, Majin Vegeta, that's kind of like his theme, though, when it comes to Majin Vegeta units, is there is something tied in their passives. Apart from the LR, the LR after EZAing, of course, has the whole Trunks condition. But a lot of Majin Vegeta units, or at least 3 of them, this one, the Dokkan Fest, and the Transforming Tech one, all contain something in their passive where they need, of course, orbs. I said the first 2 need 6 to get, 1 needs damage reduction, 1 gets guard, whereas this guy, of course, needs all the key spheres so he can actually, you know, build up his attack and defense somewhat. So, obviously, he is more ideal as a slot 2 unit. But, you know, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to leave him in slot 1. We do have some support from, of course, the Xeno Vegeta. So we're on a 201k attack stat turn 1. Or not turn 1, before supering. And a 79k defense. We can get him 15 key spheres. 15 key spheres. That's crazy. 15 key spheres. That's a lot. Not to mention the additional attack and defense plus 5% per key sphere obtained when facing a Goku's family category enemy. And the support, yeah, 1.1 mil attack stat and just under 300k defense. That's crazy. Even without the support, you're still looking at what? Probably 260, 250, 260k defense, which is pretty good considering, again, he greatly raised attack and defense on super. And this is before he's even super attacked. he would still be over a milli super attack as well, or a milli attack stat. That is actually crazy. I mean, if you can get the orbs to change that way for you, if you can get that much RNG or there's that many AGL key spheres without having to use items, 7.2 mil. Damn, so that's what, 5% considering we're facing a Goku's family enemy. So that's 15 key spheres, 5%, that's what, like an extra additional... That's an extra additional 75% attack and defense. I mean, his numbers are still going to look incredibly impressive, but he wouldn't be over a 7 mil attack stat. You're probably talking like... probably just above 6. I mean, we will face a non-Goku family enemy just to see what his number's looking at, but when you're facing a Goku's family enemy, which actually isn't that few and far between, because as I said numerous of times, when it comes to, you know, certain units or extreme units that face like pure or hybrid Saiyans, you know, things like that, the majority of the enemies in the game are superclass enemies. A lot of them enemies being Dragon Ball Z, you know, highly based around Goku, Vegeta, etc., are pure Saiyan enemies or hybrid Saiyan enemies. The character with some of the most forms and units in the game are Goku and Vegeta, so the majority of the time you're probably going to be facing Goku enemies. Apart from specific events where Goku, of course, isn't about, and also one of the things that are massively in this Majin Vegeta's favour, are always getting that extra 5% per key sphere obtained for facing a Goku's family category enemy, is the fact that there is a whole event around Goku. Not to mention, just for the cherry on top, it's not even just Goku, it's Goku's family. And again, as I said, the majority of the enemies in the game are superclass and pure and hybrid Saiyans. So not only is there a plethora of Goku enemies and a whole event around Goku, you're talking about Gohans, you're talking about Gotens. Also, there's Teen Gohan, there's Kid Gohan, Super Saiyan Teen, Super Saiyan 2 Teen, Adult Gohan. Hell, when even they do Dragon Ball Superhero, there's gonna be another Gohan. So I mean, to be fair, most of the time to get that, you know, Goku's family part of his passive off, really isn't difficult. Like, it's really not difficult. We can get him another 11 key spheres, and without support, with 11, we're on a 810k attack stat, 212k defense. So even though that seems quite restrictive, you know, kind of just off the bat, obviously it's not. I said, because primarily 5.3, man, 5.3. Because primarily all the enemies you're going to be facing in the game are, as I said, superclass, pure and hybrid Saiyan enemies, and it's Goku's family. Primarily, a lot of the superclass, you know, one of the characters that has like the most amount of variations and units and cards in the game is Goku. So that's Goku, Gohan, Goten, and all this various forms and, you know, units in the game. That's quite broad. As I said, off the bat, it may seem quite restrictive, but that's very broad. Like, very, very broad, considering when you think about the amount of, as I said, variants and, you know, all the different variations of units of Goku family units in the game. That's a lot. So that's not even a bad thing. That's not even difficult to get off. And, you know, 5% doesn't seem like a lot, but, you know, if you can really give him a lot of key spheres like we did with those 15, it adds up. Just 75% attack and defense on top of the 15 key spheres he got. And you get the initial attack and defense plus 20%. And then 75% on top of that. Yeah, man, it adds up. And I said that is a very broad condition, if you will. Now we haven't transformed, which means we have pretty much every single link active apart from one, which is Shattering the Limit, which we're only missing attack and defense plus 5%. So we'll have 150k attack stat. The attack's gone up a little bit. The defense, not really, 56k defense, but of course, ideally you want him in slot 2. The only thing that's going to hurt this Vegeta is, unless you can, you know, give him as many orbs as possible, unless you can have multiple turns like this, where you can get like this guy 6 orbs, so of course he doesn't link with this guy because they have the same name. As long as you can always get this guy 6 orbs so he can guard before he supers, because of course you want this guy in slot 2 so he can super attack, greatly raise his defense if you don't get 6 key spheres. But in order to run this guy, you're kind of, on main rotation anyway, you're looking at quite an RNG rotation or RNG turn, where you need this guy to always be getting 6 key spheres off to make sure he gets the guard so he can actually sit in slot 1 and actually tank, and then so he can go in slot 2 so he can get all those key spheres and then greatly raise his defense on super. Unless you can get loads of key spheres and nuke with him so he actually has ridiculous amounts of defense. So that's the only unfortunate thing about Majin Vegeta, is that's 13 key spheres. Where are we sitting on? 958k attack stat, 240k defense, and even some of the harder events in the game nowadays, just over like 200k defense just isn't enough. You know, if he supers and then of course on top of his 250k defense, that's fine. But slot 1, 6.2, that is dope, man. That's what some of the Dokkan Fest put out now. But you know, slot 2, he's perfect there. Slot 2 and slot 3, he's perfect there. You know, because then he has all the defense he's going to get if you can flood him out with orbs, and then you greatly raise his attack and defense on super by 50%. Then again, as I said, you need a lot of RNG on the majority of your turns, so you can always get enough orbs, get them 6 orbs, so Tech Majin Vegeta can guard, and then he can go comfortably in slot 2 and get all the key spheres he needs, even though he is an orb changer, but it's only AGL to strength, to then get all the orbs he needs to actually get his attack and defense, and then greatly raise his defense on super. So, you know, it's a very good rotation in terms of links and setup, but ideally in practicality of it actually performing, it's heavily reliant on RNG. Heavily reliant on RNG. If maybe there was a rainbow orb changer in there somewhere, it could definitely work a lot better. But in terms of numbers and what he's putting out, great linking partner in the Tech Majin Vegeta, great numbers as long as you can get him a lot of key spheres, and that Goku's family kind of condition for the extra 5% per key sphere obtained, quite broad. Quite broad. Okay, now we're in the Vegeta event. Of course, we're not going to be getting that extra 5% per key sphere obtained for facing Goku's family, you know, category enemies. But I still think he's going to be putting out some impressive numbers. We actually do have literally almost every single link active apart from Over and a Flash right now, which is pretty good. I mean, we are having the support, hence why he's got 200k attack stat. His defense is looking a little better, but it's still quite meaty. As much as I would love to do this to get all those strength orbs to drop, I know for a fact this guy will probably end up killing Vegeta, so we're gonna take the 7 orbs. That's still pretty good. 7 orbs with support, you know, it's attack and defense plus 20%. That's an extra 140% he's got. He's up to a 624k attack stat, 165k defense. Of course, again, he does have support. No extra 5% per keys for obtained because we are facing a Vegeta enemy. I really did think that guy got an additional, but okay, it's good, it's good. 4 mil, I mean, that's still pretty good, you know. That's still not bad. That's still not bad. And do you know what's funny? This guy is rainbowed and I haven't seen him put out an additional or a crit. Of course, an additional on that guy would be dope because then you greatly raise your attack and defense twice in one turn. Which, you know, is going to help him tank a hell of a lot, you know, things like that. But of course, when it comes to showcases, when it comes to videos, for me, for some reason, units, even when they're rainbowed, just don't feel like getting additionals or crits. I would like to actually get the additional because I'd actually want to see how much he tanks, but still, it just never happens for me. But still, 4 million is still pretty good. 7 key spheres is, I mean, that's probably what you're probably going to be picking out on average. I doubt you're always going to be getting what we got a minute ago, you know, 11, 14, 15 key spheres. You know, of course, if you take items to, you know, forcefully, you know, get a field full of orbs, you know, to nuke, of course, that's different stories. I don't really like to do that in showcases because it's incredibly unrealistic. You know, if you do get RNG on your side, you could have a turn where we had last time where we had 15 key spheres to give this guy. I mean, right now we are missing a few links. So he's not looking overly impressive. His defense is back to being quite meaty. Even the attack stat isn't that great. But we can get him 8 key spheres. So no, even while we're missing Over and Flash, Striking Limit, and Super Saiyan, we still have a 509k attack stat and 147k defense, which isn't bad. You know, the defense is okay. It's not that great, especially for harder content, but for his kind of standard, it's not bad. 3.3 mil as well. It's okay. It's okay. There's the additional. You see how the attack stat jumps up. Greatly raising your attack and defense twice in one turn is huge. 3.7 mil crit. Obviously, the more orbs you get, the more the additional 5% against a Goku's family category is noticeable. You know, because obviously that starts to build up, that starts to stack up. But still, he's still putting out some impressive numbers. I do hope we can get like 11, 15 key spheres again. Because then we can see what he can really do when he has all of his links active. But, you know, as I said, that's very RNG related. In terms of, you know, having him run or performing really well, especially with like Tech Majin Vegeta, it's very orb heavy. They're both very orb hungry, which doesn't typically work out. Same can be said for the Dokkan Fest Majin Vegeta with the Tech Transforming Majin Vegeta as well. But you know, if RNG comes off more often than not, I mean, it's a pretty good rotation because they link pretty much perfectly. You know, they're both putting out very good numbers. Defensively, they're both pretty good, especially the tech one sitting in slot 1 with guard. But as I said, because they're both orb hungry, Tech Majin Vegeta needs 6 to get the guard after transforming. He needs as many key spheres as he can get to just have numbers. Yeah, it's definitely not the best. Like, for example, look at this. Like, as a rotation in terms of actual practicality, you know, there's no unit that can go in slot 1. Well, this guy can't, you know, especially on a rotation like this, because we could only get him like 4 key spheres, which is only going to give him 80%, which means his defense really isn't in a suitable spot for like the much harder events. And also, at least in slot 2, even if you don't get him that many key spheres, he can greatly raise his defense or attacking defense. And then if you're lucky, you can get an additional, you can greatly raise his attacking defense twice. And then when it comes to that Tech Majin Vegeta, if he was transformed there, we wouldn't get him 6 key spheres, which means, you know, he won't guard, which means he's not suited to slot 2. He's better defensively in this rotation compared to the Strength Majin Vegeta. But, you know, there's not really a slot 1 unit to go with him, which kind of then hurts him. Whereas, for example, of course, the Dokkan Fest Majin Vegeta, if you have a Trunks unit on there, we can get 6 key spheres. And I'm now on JP and eventually on Global, when the LR Trunks and Vegeta comes out, it's a lot easier to get the Trunks condition off. You can have both sets of damage reduction, or at least if you don't get 6 key spheres for Dokkan Fest Majin Vegeta, you can always have that kind of, you know, padding from having the Trunks on the team to get the initial, what, 20% damage reduction? So, yeah, it does kind of hurt both of them quite badly when it comes to stuff like that, but he's still pretty impressive. But he does need a slot 1 unit next to him, which unfortunately he just doesn't have. So we've got another support rotation before this guy's transformed, which hopefully will happen soon. So 208k attacks, 82k defense. It's not looking great, and again, we just can't get the orbs now. we just can't get the orbs. Let me actually heal just to be safe. We generally can't get the orbs right now. But what we're saying in terms of numbers, 490k attacks, that 130k defense, it's not bad. It's not bad. As I said, this guy would probably not be viable in like the hardest content. I mean, you know, and again, the rotation's great in terms of links. You know, he links so well with that Tech Vegeta, especially when he becomes Majin Vegeta and transforms. You know, almost perfect links. I think the only one they miss is 1, which is Supreme Power, because the Tech Vegeta loses it when he transforms. Just the practicality really hurts him. The practicality really hurts him. You know, neither of them are a slot 1 unit. For them to even potentially, you know, function, or the Tech Vegeta to function as a slot 1 unit, you need a lot of RNG to make sure you're getting as many orbs as possible into Tech Majin Vegeta to get his damage reduction, not damage reduction, that's Dokkan Fest one, to get his guard, and then for the strength one to get as many orbs as possible so he actually puts out good numbers, and then have him in slot 2 to greatly raise his attacking defense. As I said, he's pretty good. He's actually pretty good, but the practicality just kind of isn't there. Okay, so we finally got the Tech Vegeta to transform. We actually have every link apart from Shattering the Limit active, which again isn't too bad. You know, we're only missing attacking defense plus 7%. Oh no, sorry, 5%. It's not even that good. Not to mention as well, this is probably the most realistic rotation you're going to get, where he's missing 1. Again, before picking up orbs, it's never going to be anything impressive. We can actually get the 6 key spheres to actually get the guard off, which obviously doesn't happen that much of the time. So I'll take that. 9 key spheres for the boy. We're on a 631k attack stat, 158k defense. After he supers, where he greatly raises attacking defense, he's going to be putting out some great numbers, and defensively going to be looking quite solid as well. We're going to tank this quite well, because we do have the guard, we do have type disadvantage, but we'll tank it well. Yeah, 120k is fine. Of course, we're going to let that run through because, I mean, the Tech Majin Vegeta shouldn't actually kill her with a type disadvantage. If he gets a crit, it's going to do a lot of damage, and I mean a lot. So as we've seen before in a different video, this guy at level 10 links, rainbowed on 200% is a menace. But yeah, we're fine. We're fine. So what we're saying now, without the 5% from facing a Goku's family category enemy, decent amount of orbs, majority of the links active, what are we saying? 4.1. That's still quite good. For the level of unit he is, that's still quite good. That is still quite good. You know, if you're getting that many orbs, obviously it's going to be very noticeable if you're not getting the extra 5% per key sphere obtained when facing a Goku's family category enemy. So I said, the more key spheres you obtain when you're facing them, it does start to mount up. It mounts up a hell of a lot. You know, especially with, you know, the higher you go, the more you're going to get. You know, before we got 75%. You know, if you only get a few key spheres, you're not going to notice that much. You know, the extra 5% is nice. It definitely is. It's very nice to get. But obviously, the more key spheres you're going to get, the more noticeable it is when in terms of how much defense he's sitting on at the start of turn. Even his attack stat, definitely noticeable on his attack stat when he's supering. I said, it's probably not that bad, but as I said, the more key spheres you obtain, the more it's going to be noticeable. Like, you know, without support, he was putting out over a 6 mil attack stat when facing the Goku, you know, getting 5% per key sphere obtained. So it definitely is kind of noticeable, but only when you're getting a lot of orbs. But unfortunately, that's what you want to do with this Majin Vegeta. So it is quite noticeable, but his numbers are still pretty good, even without facing a Goku's family category enemy. I'm not going to lie. They're still somewhat decent. They're respectable. They're respectable. I can't lie. Okay, we finally have the final rotation, which is this guy linked up with him and also the support as well. Every single link is active. We actually, funnily enough, have a lot of strength key spheres and he has type advantage, so I'm actually going to put him in slot 1. We're going to be able to get him 12 key spheres in total. So that's an extra 240. I say extra, he doesn't have anything. That's 240% attack and defense with the support, 157k attack stat, 215k defense, which before greatly raising attack and defense on super is in a pretty good spot, which means defensively this turn, he's looking pretty good. We actually managed to get the guard off with the tech one as well, but he's not even being attacked. What are we saying for the final rotation with... Actually, we're actually missing one link because I moved them. 5.6. The only link we would have got is Shattering the Limit, which is, you know, 5%. So we would have probably been on like a 5.7 mil attack stat. But of course, this is like the realistic rotation you'll get off. But still, while not getting an extra 5% when facing a Goku's family category enemy is noticeable, especially when you're getting loads of orbs. I mean, 5.6 mil is still really good. Really, it's still really, really good. I have to say, it's still really good. So, I mean, I'm impressed, man. I'm impressed. As I said, the only thing that really does hurt a lot of the Majin Vegeta units, aside from the LRs, is they are all very orb hungry. And it does hurt them because you can't always, depending on your, your RNG, and orb placement, you can't always get the amount of orbs you need in one of those units. And one of them has to take a sacrifice. And with this guy having to go in slot 2, and you not being able to run him at least with the int one who can have some form of damage reduction with a Trunks, again, especially with LR Trunks and Vegeta, that we'll get, a few months down the line, it does really hurt him in terms of practicality and how the rotation runs. But aside from that, very good unit at level 10 links, Rainbow on the 200% lead. If you can get him the orbs, puts out great numbers. His defense is in a solid spot. Probably wouldn't be able to handle the harder events like Red Zone, but he could probably do well in a Goku or Vegeta event setting as long as he doesn't get caught. Could do well in SPR and ESPR as long as you finish the enemies quickly. But the practicality it really does hurt them. But do let me know what you think down in the comments. I'll see you next video, guys, and push!